Today, I've got 5 very practical ways to improve your net worth, something that affects your daily life and long-term goals more than you may know. So are you ready to get good enough at understanding your net worth to take action? Let's go.
Hey man, how the hell you doing? I've been just fine living life with the noose and in my mind, all I hear is music.
So what is net worth? Net worth is the value of all of your assets minus the value of all of your liabilities. It's a snapshot of your overall financial health at a given moment in time. It changes every time you spend money, have an expense, or earn money through something like a job or investments. Ultimately, growing your net worth is the goal, and it's something you can start doing right here, right now. According to a 2022 Federal Reserve Board survey on consumer finances, the average net worth for US families at that time was about $1.06 million. The median was $192,700. Now, let's just stop for a second and think about those two numbers, why they're so different, and why median is probably the better measure. The average takes all the households in the US, adds them together, and divides by the total number of households. But the median takes all the households and finds the one in the middle. So if there were 500,000 households that were surveyed and their net worths were each ordered from smallest to largest, the median household income would be household number 250,000 in the list, or the one in the middle, irrespective of what the actual net worth is. The reason the average and median household net worths are so drastically different, if you haven't figured it out already, is because of the concentration of wealth that has occurred in America. A small collection of people have tremendous net worths, while the overwhelming majority of people have much lower net worths. Now that we understand that, let's talk about why you should track your net worth and how you can beat the median and the average. Tracking your net worth gives you a clear picture of where you stand financially overall. It also forces you to take stock of all your assets and liabilities, which then provides you a comprehensive view of your financial situation. My wife and I started tracking our net worth monthly about 2 years ago, and it's been really helpful and motivating at the same time. We get to watch our debt decrease, our assets increase, and our net worth grow. It's also helpful to see how unexpected expenses or also budgeting discipline or the lack thereof can impact financial goals. We use a simple spreadsheet that I built that's modeled after the form that Gary Keller shares in his book, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I've mentioned this before in my video about 10 financial mistakes that I've made. Check that out right here. So how do you calculate net worth? Well, this is real simple. First, we're gonna make a list of all your assets and liabilities. Okay, so that's 2 lists. 1 list with your assets, 1 list with your liabilities. Let's first start by defining what assets are though. Okay, assets are things you own that either are cash or can be turned into cash. Now, some assets can be turned into cash easily. Those are liquid assets. Some items are more complex or time-consuming to turn into cash. Those are illiquid assets. And what are liabilities? Those are things you owe. Those are debts, like loans, bills, and taxes, to give kind of 3 typical examples. So you have your 2 lists, assets, liabilities. You're then gonna determine the fair market value of each item. Now, for many of these, you probably have an app or an online account you can just log into to check the balance. So once a month, I take about 20 minutes or so and open like 20 tabs in my browser and I just log into all my accounts. And I copy and paste the current balance of each account into my net worth spreadsheet tracker. That then adds up the total of all of my assets and all of my liabilities together. And then it also does the final step, which is subtract the total liabilities from the total assets. That is what net worth is. It is your assets minus your liabilities, or what you own minus what you owe. Some examples of assets could be cash, like money in the bank, savings account, other cash that you have hidden under a mattress somewhere. It could also be real estate, the value of your home or other investment properties or even land. Essentially, your home, if you have a mortgage on it, is both an asset and a liability in this context. How do you determine the value of your home? I think there are two approaches. I've used both of them. If you have had an appraisal done on the house at some point, usually that's going to happen during the purchase process or a refinance. You can use that number from the appraisal, even if it's a few years old. Now, if you don't have an appraisal, you can do what I do now. I used to use the appraisal method, but we've since moved to this method, which is I take the average home price estimate between Redfin and Zillow. Vehicles are another example of assets, a car, an RV, other vehicles. To estimate these, you can use Kelley Blue Book or Edmunds. They both have websites that you can calculate both trade-in or private party sale value. Investments are another example. The value of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, other investments. This is pretty straightforward. Retirement plans are another form of asset. This could be a 401k or a 403b or a pension, a profit sharing plan, some kind of retirement account that you have. Then we get on to personal property. Okay, this could be the value of things like jewelry or art or collectibles or other personal items. Now, here are some examples of liabilities that you might have. We already talked about mortgages. Okay, so this is the remaining balance on any home loans that you have, car loans, any student loan, credit card debt, lines of credit. This could include something like a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, a personal loan that you might have out there, any kind of debt owed, as well as any unpaid bills that you might have. Also, taxes are another form of liability. So now that we've covered what assets are, what liabilities are, and how we're gonna calculate our net worth by subtracting liabilities from assets, here are 5 tips to increase your net worth. Number 1, if you are planning to build your net worth based on optimistic expectations of salary or wage increases or the sustainability of a second job, I think that's going to be a real challenge to meeting wealth building goals. Real wealth is not built from your wages at a job unless you are an incredibly highly paid executive, for example, or an athlete. And hey, in that case, do you want to be a guest in a video talking about high income earners and their wealth strategies? Hit me up. But otherwise, real wealth is built by minimizing debt and maximizing income from other sources other than your day job, from passive sources that you don't have to put time into every day to earn money from. Number 2, reduce your monthly expenses. In simple household terms, there are basically 4 types of expenses, okay? Fixed, these are your have to have. Variable, both have to and want to. Discretionary, want to, and extraordinary or unexpected. Fixed expenses typically include necessities like your mortgage or rent, utilities, loans or lease payments, and other fixed monthly expenses, things that you have to do and they are the same amount every month. Variable expenses generally include things like gas, car maintenance, certain utilities, groceries, clothing, school supplies, personal care items, things that you still need and might want as well, but that fluctuate in price depending on how much you use them in that month. Discretionary expenses generally include things like specialty groceries and coffee shops, dining out, movies, theater, concerts, club memberships, These are things that you want to have, but you do not need to have. That's why they are discretionary. And extraordinary expenses or unplanned are those unplanned things like a major car repair, a medical emergency, you need to put a new roof on the house, things like that. To get a handle on where your dollars and cents go, obviously track your spending over several months. Tracking this spending will help you identify the difference between the have to things and the want to things. And when you combine those things, you will see a spending pattern that may be impairing your ability to build your net worth through financially healthy and disciplined approaches to both saving and investing. Number 3, acquire assets that are more likely to provide income or appreciation potential over the long term. Not all assets are equal. Some types of assets are more likely to help build your net worth over the long term, while others may actually reduce your net worth. How does that work? Examples might include real estate or stocks and bonds. Now, assets that may negatively affect your net worth over the long term are assets that are more likely to depreciate in value. Okay, the biggest example that I can think of is a car. Cars are liabilities, okay? If you buy a brand new car, the moment you drive it off the lot, it loses thousands of dollars that you will not catch up on in your loan for a while. That is why I think buying a new car is only something you should do if you have a very healthy net worth. And also, I would say you're either paying in cash or you're getting a fantastic deal that they have like a 0% interest loan. Otherwise, used cars are the best value because they do not depreciate at the same rate as new cars. Number 4, maximize contributions to things like IRAs and employer-sponsored retirement plans. Now, for employer-sponsored retirement plans, it's generally recommended that you contribute at minimum whatever amount maximizes your employer contribution if you have that as a benefit. Any employer match is 100% return on your contributed money. Number 5, reduce your liabilities. What you owe is called a debt or a liability. Now, some liabilities can act like a boat's anchor that drags along a lake's bottom, slowing down your ability to build and grow your assets, which is the goal. Also, I've talked about credit cards before. I don't even want to say strive to pay off the full balance on your credit cards each month. You must pay off the full balance on your credit cards each month. You cannot let that interest get you. I mean, credit card interest is often like 25, 27%. Like, that is absurd. It's the worst possible interest rate you could get on any kind of loan. Pay your credit cards off in full every month. In conclusion, your net worth will naturally fluctuate. Okay, market-related factors can increase or decrease the value of your assets, especially over the short term. Okay, but over the long term, we almost always see growth in those kinds of assets. But reducing your debt will have an incredibly positive effect on your net worth because you will not only eliminate the liability, but you will also free up cash flow that you can use towards other things like investing. Calculate your net worth at least monthly and track your progress. I've placed a link to my net worth tracker down below if you'd like to check it out and use it. There are lots of good ones out there. Find one you like or build one yourself. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned a lot about net worth today. Start tracking it and start getting yourself on track to increase your net worth and reach your wealth building financial goals. What's been your experience with tracking your net worth? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.